Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys. I hope that all of you are doing great. Today's video is going to be about date night fragrances. Today I'm going to show you a total of 11 cheap but at the same time high quality scents that are great for wearing while you're out on a date night. So you can smell great but at the same time you won't break the bank. The first fragrance that I'm going to show you in this video comes from the house of Art Al Zafran and it's called Satwa. And I just recently did a review of this fragrance a few days ago. And this one is a clone of Nishan Ani. So probably if you are familiar with the original scent here, you know what you're getting into with this one. The original is known for being one of the best vanilla based scents, and the Satwa is actually a really nice interpretation of the original. It's not a direct clone, it has a slight twist to it. This feels a little bit more spicy in the opening, a little bit less citrusy compared to the original fragrance, but on the dry down becomes really close to the original scent, and it's all about the sweet vanilla scent in this fragrance. Usually, you know, sweet fragrances are really good for date night usage, and the Satwa makes no difference. Performance here is very good, about 8 to 9 hours. Price tag is pretty low, about the €20 mark. Comes really nicely packaged, the bottle has nice quality, and all in all this is a very nice take on the original Nishan Ani DNA. The next fragrance that I'm going to show you in this video comes from the house of Araf and it's called Araf Radical, or some places this is marketed as Radical Brown. One of the most underrated fragrances in the Araf lineup, and I really like this fragrance and I think it deserves way more attention. This is again not a fragrance that's a straight up clone of anything, but it's very close to Parfum de Marly's Herald. You get that very sweet, very warm tobacco based scent that has a bit of a boozy vibe in it. It has a nice cherry note, it has some cherry fruitiness, sweetness, some woodiness, some spiciness. All in all, this is a very nicely done fragrance, and as I said, this is very underrated in my opinion for what it offers. Has a great scent profile, you get absolutely no harshness or anything like that. Come again nicely packaged, has a very high quality scent, and probably the only con of this fragrance is the fact that it's not a very long lasting fragrance. The total performance, total longevity on skin is pretty decent, about 7 to 8 hours, but this thing is a little bit more intimate when it comes to the projection, but that only makes it better in my opinion for a date night fragrance. It's sweet, tobacco based fragrance with nice fruitiness to it, spiciness, woodiness, a very nice, warm and cozy scent that's great for date nights. The next fragrance that I'm going to show you in this video comes from the house of Grandeur and it's called Sincerity Paragon. This is not very well known in the fragrance world, at least at the current time. It's one of my latest purchases, and this fragrance is a clone of Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Privé, one of the rare clones of Reserve Privé that I've been able to get my hands on. So if you're familiar with the original scent, you know what you're getting with this one. You get this warm, woody, sweet fragrance that has a nice iris note. You get some chestnut, you get a boozy vibe in this fragrance as well. It's not a direct one-to-one clone to Reserve Privé. This feels a little bit more irisy compared to the original fragrance, lacks a bit of the chestnut warmth that you get out of the original, lacks a bit of the strong boozy vibe that you get out of the original. This feels a little bit more powdery. Also, I feel that there's quite a lot of tonka bean in this fragrance, but it's really nicely done. It's sweet, it's warm, it's cozy, so that in my opinion makes it a great date night scent. The next fragrance that I'm going to show you in this video comes from the house of Meson Alhamra and it's called Your Touch for Men, and this fragrance is a clone of Armani's Stronger With You EDT. It's quite similar to the original fragrance, feels a little bit fresher in my opinion, but you still get that very sweet, ambery, slightly boozy, warm type of scent profile. That's a very good in my opinion when it comes to date night fragrance. The original fragrance and almost all of its flankers are great, date night scents, and your touch from Meson Alhamra makes no difference. It comes nicely packaged, has decent performance and projection. The quality here is very decent, and again the best thing out of all is the price tag. This fragrance costs less than 20 euros, at least around here in Europe. And if you're enjoying the original fragrance and you're looking for something quite a lot cheaper compared to the original scent, definitely check out Your Touch for Men from Meson Alhamra. The next one that I'm going to show you comes from the house of Lattafa and their Pride line, and it's called La Collection d'Antiquities 1886. A very unique looking bottle with also quite an unique scent inside. It's not a direct clone of anything, at least to my knowledge, but it's a fragrance that shares some resemblance to Dior Homme Intense. You get a very similar iris note that's been used in here, like the one that you get from Dior Homme Intense. But here you get, instead of, the other sweet notes like cacao and stuff like that that you get with the original, this here has a chocolatey note. I think it's a milk chocolate note or white chocolate, something like that, but it really has a chocolatey vibe that's mixed with the iris. You get some spices, some woods. It's a really interesting scent profile. In my opinion, it's perfectly unisex, and it's quite warm and sweet, and makes it a great date night scent. As I said, comes very uniquely packaged. They get a very unique looking bottle. Performance here is pretty good, projection is pretty good, price tag a little bit higher, but this is a fragrance that's member of the Lattafa Pride line, which usually tend to be a little bit more costly. The next fragrance that I'm going to show you comes from the house of Ajmal, and it's called Vibe for Him, and this fragrance is a clone of Jean Paul Gaultier's Le Mot Le Parfum. And I really like this fragrance. It's really nicely done clone of Le Mot Le Parfum. It's slightly less sweet compared to Le Mot Le Parfum, a little bit more woody, feels like a little bit more grown-up version of Le Mot Le Parfum, but you get a very similar scent profile. You get the combination of vanilla, iris, some woods, some freshness, but again, as I said, this has a little bit more added spiciness and a little bit more added woodiness. Performance here is very good, especially after some maceration. Projection is really nice. The price tag is very low, maybe a little bit hard to find sometimes, and probably the only con of this fragrance is the bottle size, which is 75 milliliters, I think, and the super ugly bottle design. But other than that, it's really nicely done. This fragrance that I'm going to show you comes from the house of Zimaya, which is a brand of Afnan, and it's called Royal Paragon. This fragrance is a clone of Parfum de Marly's Leighton Exclusive, or some people may say that it stands somewhere between the original Leighton and Leighton Exclusive. You get that fruity apple-based fragrance that has quite a lot of vanilla, some spices, some mint, some woods. But this fragrance has a little bit darker dry down, and feels on the dry down, it feels closer to the Leighton Exclusive flanker. It has an oud, agar oud note. Performance is pretty decent, projection is pretty decent, the scent profile here, the scent quality is really nice, and I've always thought that Leighton can be used as a date night fragrance, because especially when it comes to the colder season of the year. I've really been enjoying Royal Paragon from Zimaya, and I think this really works nicely as a date night scent. My next suggestion comes from the house of Meson Alhamra again, and it's called Kismet Angel. This to this day I think has the closest opening to the original Angel Share fragrance, in my opinion. You get that very sweet, very boozy scent profile that has a lot of sweetness and a lot of booziness. The dry down feels slightly different compared to the original scent, but again the opening in here is the closest that I have tried out of the many clones that I have tried to Angel Share. A perfectly unisex scent that's very sweet, very warm, great for a date night, for a cold weather date night. Performance here is pretty decent, not fantastic performance, but still pretty decent, good enough for a date night. The problem with this fragrance is that sometimes it can be hard to find, and prices can vary and can be very high. But if you can get this on a good deal, it's a really nicely done clone of Angel Share, and definitely works great as a date night scent. My next suggestion comes from the house of Fragrance World and their Athoor Al-Alam sub-brand. Excuse me if I'm not pronouncing the name of the company and the name of the fragrance correctly, but these Middle Eastern names can be very hard to pronounce. And the fragrance is called Raiee. This fragrance is a clone of Paco Rabanne's 1 million elixir. It's very nicely done, actually surprisingly nicely done, considering the ugly bottle design, the cheap price tag of this fragrance. But if you're familiar with you know, the 1 million line, especially the elixir, which feels very sweet, you know, sweet fragrances tend to work great as a date night scent. Also, this can work great as a clubbing scent as well. But scent wise, this has super nice quality and it's very close to you know, Paco Rabanne's 1 million elixir. Performance is pretty good, at least so far from my tasting. I haven't done a full review yet of this fragrance, I'll do one soon. The scent quality is high, the performance seems to be very nice, the price tag is very low, and again the only two problems about this fragrance are, first of all, the ugly bottle design, and second of all, the very hard to pronounce name. But apart from that, this is actually a very nicely fragrance, actually a surprisingly good scent. The next fragrance that I'm going to show you comes from the house of Lattafa, and it's called Al Nashama Caprice. A super lovely scent, a super lovely juice that's packed up in a super ugly bottle, especially the cap. But this fragrance is a clone of YSL La Nuit de l'Homme Blue Electric, and it's really nicely done clone. You get that very sexy, fresh, you know, scent profile that's known with the original La Nuit de l'Homme Blue Electric. It's very creamy, you got a creamy sandalwood, you got creamy lavender, you got some more spices, a bit of ambery sweetness, a bit of more woods on the dry down. Really nicely done fragrance that has way better performance compared to the original scent, especially when it comes to projection. Again, one of the newer Lattafa releases, can be a bit hard to find sometimes, but if you like the original scent, even if you like something like the original La Nuit de l'Homme, and you can get your hands on Al Nashama Caprice, definitely check this one out, because I think this is a really a gem of a fragrance, and it's a 10 out of 10 scent in my opinion. And I'm going to end up the video with one very classy suggestion from the house of Ajmal that's called Evoke Gold Edition. This fragrance is a clone of a Prada L'Homme Intense, and I really like the original scent, and Evoke and Ajmal have done a really nice job at cloning the original fragrance. This feels a little bit like a mix of the original L'Homme and L'Homme Intense, leaning to the L'Homme Intense side. You get that sweet, at the same time clean, fresh, soapy feeling iris note that you get with the original fragrance. You get some violet, you get a leather note, you get some nice vanilla sweetness. Very classy scent. The original, I absolutely love the original L'Homme Intense. It's one of the best designer fragrances ever created in my opinion, and Evoke Gold Edition is a really nice clone of that fragrance. Very classy, very gentlemanly, and works great as a date night scent. And so guys, in today's video I showed you 11 cheap but at the same time high quality date night scents. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in the next one. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.